The crown prince is getting married, but I am not the one becoming the crown princess. Nevertheless, I still have to present gifts to him with a heavy heart. As a result, I ended up attending the bridal chamber of someone else. 1. The crown prince is getting married, and I went to present gifts to him. On the way, I encountered the crown prince's fleeing bride. She was highly skilled in martial arts, and my martial arts were not bad either. Then, her guards knocked me down from behind. Later, I and the crown prince faced each other, and he seemed a bit confused. Why are you here? Didn't you resist the imperial decree and refuse the marriage? I chuckled awkwardly and pulled out a red purse from the crooked wedding dress. Hee, here for the gift. Do you believe it? Xiao Qirui obviously didn't believe it. He snorted coldly and began to change his clothes. With a tall and slender figure, broad shoulders, and narrow waist, the handsome man slowly took off the last layer of outer clothing. I stared in amazement, and blood rushed to my nostrils. I couldn't help but shout, Xiao Qirui, what are you doing? Xiao Qirui turned around, his disheveled clothes revealing a fair chest, and he smiled mischievously. His voice was languid and teasing. Changing clothes, who wears clothes to sleep? I was so angry that I almost couldn't contain the rush of blood in my nostrils. With me right here, are you changing clothes in front of me? Xiao Qirui's smile became even more brilliant. He dragged his clothes, approached me step by step, and said leisurely, Tisk, it's not like you haven't seen it before. What are you pretending to be shy for? I, too. I indeed was quite familiar with it. But the problem was, I really didn't know he was the crown prince at that time. My clueless father even kept it a secret from his own daughter. When the mission came down, he told me to lead a group of people to rescue someone. Then, among a group of rough and bizarre-looking men, I saw Xiao Qirui at a glance. At that time, he was like a white deer in the forest, with clear and indifferent eyes, pure yet not to be underestimated. I was boiled with enthusiasm by that look, drew my Xiantai sword, and aimed the tip directly at the bandit leader. Tiger Battalion, listen to my command, kill them all, leave no one behind. Look at this, I'm so irresistible. 3. After bringing Xiao Qirui back to the camp, I couldn't suppress the eager heart. I tried every means to win him over, and since my father didn't mention when his family would come to pick him up, I planned to settle things once and for all. Whether he's from the noble Wang family or the powerful Xia family, they would all be in the hands of my Qiu family. General, is there anything wrong? My innocent prey looked at me with purity and confusion. The guard reminded me in a low voice. General, wipe off the drool. You've been staring at the young master for half an hour. I was in a big dilemma. Suddenly, a clean handkerchief with dark patterns was gently placed in front of me. Xiao Qirui's well-defined fingers lightly touched the embroidered handkerchief, a hint of a smile in his eyes. General, if you have something to say, you can think it through and tell me later. I'm not in a hurry. Oh. I suddenly understood. He had feelings for me. He wanted me to express my feelings. But I really didn't know how to confess. All the guys around me were straightforward. They couldn't explain the romance between a gentleman and a lady. Helpless, I went to find the aunt in the military camp responsible for killing fish, the one with 5 dead husbands and 3 children. She stood on the stove, holding a fire stick, gazing deeply at the sky. Sighing, she said, "Love is just a pastime." Here is the English translation of the text. No matter the form, when you like something, you act on it, understand? I shook my head honestly. The older lady sized me up and down, understanding glinting in her eyes. Then, she dropped a bottle of medicine. Tossing her hair casually, she said, "To get him, you must first possess his body." I took the bottle of medicine skeptically and left. Not too far behind, the older lady murmured softly, "Once you possess the body, you'll realize whether you want the heart or not." 4. That night, I racked my brains and had a lengthy heart-to-heart with Qirui. We talked from the basics of life to the head cook's black dog in the cooking camp fixating on a she-wolf, bitten 8 times in 3 days but resilient, persistently howling among the wolf pack. By the end, even I was moved by my own words. I grabbed a sleeve of Xiao Chirue's, wiping tears away, sighing, "Look, in front of love. Even species don't matter. What about regions and family backgrounds? Isn't that right?" Xiao Chirue struggled to retrieve his sleeve but met my teary eyes and gave up. He sighed lightly, "General, it's too late, I'll escort you back to your quarters." Not getting what I wanted, I naturally refused to leave. Fortunately, my dim-witted guard came in time, signaling with a tray. "General, the medicine is here." Delighted, I ignored his slightly lecherous expression, planning to reward him handsomely once things were settled. I swiftly stuffed the bottle into my sleeve. Seizing an opportunity when Xiao Chirue wasn't paying attention, I poured the contents into a cup. Then, enthusiastically, I pushed the drugged cup in front of Xiao Chirue. "General, is there something wrong with this drink?" Xiao Chirue lowered his head, his black hair sliding across my hand, emitting a rich, sweet scent as he drew closer. It felt like I was enveloped in his embrace entirely. My heart raced, and I couldn't help but swallow hard. "It's okay, just to prevent you from getting drunk, poured a bit less." "I see." His deep voice carried a faint smile, sounding mysteriously tempting. "But, General, you should drink less too." He splashed a bit of both cups' contents away, then placed them in front of us. Inside, a voice was screaming, "Get him! Get him!" Which cup did I drug again? Xiao Chirue drank it all at once. Then, he turned his scrutinizing gaze toward me, making me feel nervous. Regardless, I picked up a cup and drank too. Gradually, a heat surged through my body, intensifying. It got so hot that I couldn't help but stand up from the table, attempting to open a window to cool down. A fair and clear hand gently held mine. "General, the night breeze is chilly. Don't sacrifice your health for a brief comfort." My hand trembled, and a nervous nosebleed trickled down my determined face. Was he talking about the wind, not something else? 5. I'm a bit fuzzy about what happened next. All I remember is when he turned to close the window, I pounced on him like a starving tiger. Then, I said something that makes me want to bury myself half a city. "General, I've set my sights on you, so comply with me." The next day when I woke up, I was pleasantly surprised to find I had succeeded. Xiao Chirue lay beside me, his nightclothes in disarray, long and thick eyelashes, a high nose bridge, his side profile sharply defined like a drawn sketch. The red-sleeved lady from the Qinglu Chu house said the best way to judge a person's beauty was to see them asleep. I smiled contentedly. This person beside me was truly handsome. His raven-like lashes quivered slightly. Xiao Chirue rubbed his forehead, his voice husky after just waking. "What mischief are you up to again?" "Nothing, nothing." Thinking I was showing profound affection, I planted a kiss on his cheek. "I'm going to the training ground now. Rest well, I'll come see you at lunch." Xiao Chirue wanted to say something. You lingered between his teeth, but he couldn't utter another word for a while. His handsome face turned as red as a boiled shrimp, emitting heat waves. I understood his current state very well because the lady who killed fish had told me. Men, their first time, are all like this. 6. My relationship with Xiao Chirue gradually deepened, and he accepted my nightly visits sporadically. Occasionally, when I made arrangements for border affairs with other merchants at the Qinglu Chu house, he would sulk and act jealous. To appease him, I gave him the jade lock my parents gave me when I was born. He returned the favor with a golden turtle button. Holding the small seal in my hand, I contemplated Xiao Chirue's status. At that time, I was young, hadn't been into the city, and lacked knowledge. I surmised that only a scion with some real power within a prominent family would possess such a trinket. It was the top of the pyramid. Later, my father returned triumphantly with a large army. He knelt immediately upon seeing Xiao Chirue. I was shocked. I wondered how my father knew I had caused trouble for him. But it had happened, and there was no reason for a father-in-law to bow to his son-in-law, especially one who had sought me out. I rushed forward to pull my father up, intending to explain things, even if it meant getting a beating. My father had a strong grip. With a smack, he pulled me down too. Furiously, he scolded, "Outrageous, do you have a death wish?" Xiao Chirue stood before me, exuding a powerful aura, nothing like the seductive beauty on my bed earlier. First, he helped my father up, then, somewhat helplessly, he extended a hand to me. His eyes glanced over, seemingly displeased and annoyed, leaving me confused. My father had experience in the political arena. He sensed something amiss between us and found a pretext to dismiss me. That night, Xiao Chirue came to find me. I cowered inside the tent, too scared to respond, thoughts swirling in my mind. I slept with the crown prince. I must be doomed. The freezing northern wind howled, and Xiao Chirue coughed outside the tent, making my heart ache. "Qiu Ru, you dare to do it but not to admit it. It's not like when you lured me to your bed that time. You just wait for me. You can't hide for a lifetime." 7. Later, Xiao Chirue returned to the capital alone. Within a few months, the imperial decree for the arranged marriage hurriedly arrived at the border, spreading joy in the military camp. However, my father was displeased, and my mother was pessimistic. My mother, coming from a prestigious family, knew well that once a woman was confined to the inner quarters, regardless of whether she was a hawk from the grasslands or a flower from the desert, she would all transform into one thing, a cold, shrewd noblewoman. My older brother was also worried. Well versed in history, within an hour, he had already planned how to support my child as the emperor, balancing the power of prominent families. I was very sad. I didn't want to become a prince consort in the Eastern Palace. I only loved the vast wilderness beyond the border. I loved Xiao Chirue. I wanted to spend my life with the person I loved on the border. If this love came at a cost, then I would rather not have this love. However, there was no man in the military camp as handsome and refined as Xiao Chirue. I couldn't even find a substitute for him. My father personally went to the capital to beg for forgiveness and reject the imperial decree on my behalf. Due to this, the emperor punished him to stay in the capital and temporarily entrusted the border to someone else. Concerned for my father's safety, my mother decided to return to her maiden family, bringing me and my older brother along, hoping that our maternal family and uncle in the court could protect us more. My brother, sitting in the carriage on the way to the capital, casually said to me, "Don't worry too much, our father is fine. Maybe the emperor will treat him even better." "What do you mean?" My brother leaned over quietly, whispered, "Our father has commanded the border forces for more than 10 years, gaining the hearts of the military and civilians. The emperor will be wary. Fortunately, you are naive, prone to trouble, giving the emperor a reason to reprimand him. Although our father is being punished in the capital, it's also an opportunity for the emperor to consolidate military power and eliminate concerns. But if I accept this decree, won't I have to marry the crown prince immediately?" That's what I said. "Our family will have to start meddling in the court. If our father holds his ground, and you and the crown prince ascend smoothly, great. If not, it's hard to say." So, from the beginning, Xiao Chirue and I had no future. 8. The red-sleeved lady said, "The fastest way to forget a man is to shift your affection to someone else." Inspired by this, when my mother suggested going to the capital, I eagerly agreed, carrying the intention of finding a new partner. Time was of the essence. I had to snatch a suitable husband before our whole family returned to the border. The next morning, I intercepted my older brother, just about to leave. "Brother, did you have fun yesterday? Did you make friends with any young lords?" My brother raised an eyebrow lightly, snorted, and swung his sleeves, returning to his room. "Speak, what do you want?" I sat on a wooden stool, pouring tea into a porcelain cup. "What do you mean?" "Just showing concern for my brother, asking if my brother has any good friends among the young lords. Perhaps next time we go out of the capital, he wants to join us to see the scenery at the border." My brother smiled faintly but didn't speak. I was trying to find an excuse when a clear voice, like flowing water, sounded behind me. Is Brother Xingqiu here? I turned around, seeing a handsome man in a brocade robe, carrying a scroll of calligraphy, approaching. My brother walked out from behind me and exchanged greetings with the man. When the man's gaze turned to me, I smiled, revealing bright white teeth. I'm Qiu Ru, Brother Xingqiu's younger sister. I'm new to the capital and might not know the rules, so forgive me, Brother Ziming. Wang Zhili responded to my earlier smile with a hearty one, bathed in the morning light. In the capital, there were constraints on aristocratic men and women. Laughing as I did earlier might be considered lacking manners. Interestingly, Wang Zhili knew this but still laughed along with me. 9. Wang Zhili originally came to appreciate a piece of calligraphy with my brother. With me observing on the side, my brother had to divert half of his attention to discipline me, preventing me from doing anything shocking. Under my brother's cold gaze, I boldly engaged in small talk with Wang Zhili. Just as Wang Zhili's cheeks reddened, and he repeated a sentence, a servant rushed in, reporting anxiously, "The Crown Prince has arrived. The elderly master and mistress ask you to come and greet them." My brother and I quickly exchanged glances, mutually understanding each other. My brother said something that shocked me. "Brother Ziming, my younger sister is playful and unintentionally offended the Crown Prince before. Now that he's here, my sister is afraid to show her face. Could you please take her to the library for a stroll? After the Crown Prince leaves, I will personally come to welcome you." Wang Zhili did not refuse and agreed graciously. Due to the matter with Xiao Qirui, I remained absent-minded. Wang Zhili noticed my unhappiness and tried every means to cheer me up. April was the season of falling petals. Passing by a lush peach tree, Wang Zhili stopped me. "Miss Qiu, look here." I looked to where he gestured. As I raised my head, petals fluttered in the air. Through layers of flower rain, I saw Wang Zhili on the other side and, behind him, the imposing Xiao Qirui exuding a domineering aura. Xiao Qirui's expression was unpredictable, and his pitch-black eyes seemed to conceal an unfathomable abyss. He was still in the attire of the Crown Prince, emanating the majesty of a future ruler. Just like when I shared a drink and laughter with the Deputy General in the military camp, he appeared angry. In just a few months, things had changed drastically. I was still the carefree wild girl from the border, while he had become the heir to the throne, wielding both favor and power. Seeing me standing still, Wang Zhili became somewhat nervous, ignoring the demeanor of an aristocratic young man and quickly walked toward me. I became even more worried, my heart pounding, unsure if I feared Xiao Qirui's anger or if I feared him taking advantage of the situation. Considering this, I couldn't care less about the etiquette of a well-bred young lady, so I walked towards Xiao Qirui. Unexpectedly, he turned around and boarded the carriage, leaving. As a result, the carefully arranged date created by my brother for me was ruined because of Xiao Qirui's sudden appearance, and I completely lost interest. I couldn't hear what Wang Zhili whispered to me. My mind was filled with the indifferent expression Xiao Qirui had when he boarded the carriage. To say I didn't feel guilty or sad would be a lie. But I was so mundane, I couldn't sacrifice my family, my parents, my brothers, and myself for a single word of love. My brother personally came to pick me up. As soon as we returned home, my maternal grandmother sent my personal maid, Futsue, to warmly follow. "Miss, the Crown Prince came today and rewarded us with many things, including beautiful clothes and jewelry for you. He also specially gave you and young master a booklet, saying it's a collection of famous places for dining and recreation in the capital. He suggested that you and young master can explore it when you have time." Futsue helped me organize while sighing. I smiled and carefully examined the things sent by Xiao Qirui. The clothes fit perfectly, even the small sleeve openings were just right. The jewelry was simple and elegant, convenient for both wearing and removing when I wanted to climb trees or enjoy heights. When we were together, I never paid attention to what clothes he wore. On the contrary, every time, I would mess up his clothes, tear them apart, and not care at all. I never expected his thoughts to be so delicate and considerate, spending so much time on a woman's clothing. Those suppressed emotions were now stirring again in my heart. I looked at the booklet, decisively found a box, put it inside, and locked it. Futsue asked me in confusion, "Miss, what are you doing?" I casually arranged my hair, saying, "How can the Crown Prince's precious gift be casually placed? Naturally, it must find a good place to show royal care." 10. I thought my relationship with Xiaoqirui would end here. During the time my father was allowed to stay in the capital after the lifting of the house arrest, Xiaoqirui was given another arranged marriage, and the chosen bride was none other than my maternal cousin, Zhou Yan. It seemed that the emperor had some connection with my maternal family. Since he couldn't marry his granddaughter, he decided to marry his grandson to my maternal cousin, maintaining the blood relationship with my maternal family. Although the scandal of my father resisting the imperial decree and refusing the marriage was suppressed by the emperor, the nobles were aware of it. Worried that the future crown princess would feel uncomfortable seeing me, I secretly discussed with my father, hoping to return to his military residence. After contemplating for a while, my father said, "It's not that I won't let you stay, but that the house has been neglected since your mother left. If you don't mind, you can come back with me and take a look." Upon arrival, I was shocked. My father really didn't pay attention to the upkeep. Except for the main hall where my father was confined, any visitor would think it was a haunted mansion. Despite this, to avoid attracting attention, I insisted on staying. In the middle of the night, I shivered in bed. Suddenly, a heavy object fell in the courtyard. I stabilized my mind, put on clothes, grabbed my sword, and went out to investigate. In the middle of the night, I found someone lying in the grass, seemingly half dead. Just as I was about to extend my sword for probing, a sword shadow swiftly appeared in front of my neck. "If you don't want to die, shut up." I thought to myself, "Big brother, I haven't said anything yet." The moonlight reflected by the sword's shadow made it difficult to open my eyes. The person holding the sword suddenly put down the weapon and apologized. "I didn't know it was General." "I apologize." The voice seemed to be from Xiaoqirui's shadow guard. "General, the crown prince is severely injured and urgently needs treatment." Only then did I realize that the half-dead person in the grass was Xiaoqirong. Without further ado, I and the shadow guard together carried Xiaoqirui into the house. The shadow guard stammered, "General, the crown prince entrusts you. I must return to the Eastern Palace to fulfill the Crown Prince's plan." Before I could agree, he vanished like smoke, leaving the pale-faced Xiaoqirui testing my conscience. Of course, I had a conscience. I quietly administered medicine to the unconscious Xiaoqirong. It was strange, his pulse felt as if he hadn't suffered a severe injury, but the wounds on his body looked so serious. 11. Later, I became too tired and fell asleep leaning on the bed. When I woke up, I realized I was perfectly positioned on top of someone, and my drool had stained a large area on their chest. Xiaoqirui's voice was hoarse as he covered my head with his hand and asked in a low voice, "Awake?" I jumped off the bed, pulled Xiaoqichuan over, and examined him. Fortunately, I didn't crush his wounds. But I soon discovered a more embarrassing problem. I had undressed him. Xiaoqirui's face reddened slightly, and his watery eyes made me feel guilty. I didn't mean to. I weakly defended myself. The person on the bed, sounding weary, complained, "Whether intentional or not, you still did it." As soon as I heard this, my face turned even redder. I covered him with the quilt and ran out as if escaping. 12. After calming down outside, I understood what I needed to do. The priority was to send the ailing Xiaoqirui back to his Eastern Palace, not to listen to the nonsense of that clueless guard. He was the current crown prince, and as long as he remained stable, the emperor would be at peace. Even if Prince Zhao had the ability to rebel, the maternal relatives and legitimate factions of the crown prince were not to be underestimated. Xiaoqirui's gaze wandered on me for a while, then he picked up my celadone teacup and took a gentle sip. Seeing how familiar we were, I went straight to the point. "I'll escort you back to the Eastern Palace." Xiaoqirui didn't realize it immediately and spat out all the tea, startling me. He looked at me with anger, eyes slightly red from choking. giving him a somewhat charming appearance. I said, I told you it's haunted there. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. Xiao Chirue was about to say something when a group of people surrounded the residence. The leader, wearing black and with a face covered, riding an imperial horse, disdainfully said, "Take them all." 13. I and Wang Zhili, along with his servants, were tied together. Bags were placed over our heads, and we were shoved into a carriage. I silently prayed that Xiao Chirue in the main house wouldn't be caught. With his injuries, he wouldn't be able to resist. To my relief, a fragrant and luxurious aura suddenly enveloped me. Xiao Chirue was forced into the carriage beside me. "Behave yourselves, don't force us to act now," said a cold voice. I felt anxious, using my fingers to write in Xiao Chirue's palm, "How are your injuries?" Xiao Chirue coldly snorted and ignored me. After a while, he reluctantly whispered, "I'm fine, don't worry." Wang Zhili suddenly leaned over and used his fingers to write in my palm, "Miss Chiu, don't worry. There's a patrol camp in the capital, and we'll be rescued soon." The carriage, after turning down an alley, suddenly changed direction. I had martial skills and keen hearing. Were we heading out of the city? 15. After running for about 2 or 3 hours, we stopped in a place with a strong smell of burning. The people outside the carriage didn't speak Mandarin. Instead, their tone was somewhat strange, indicating that they were foreigners who had been in constant contact with us on the border. The headgear was removed, revealing an incredibly familiar face. It was my father's old enemy, the leader of the Ilkhanate. He spoke in awkward Mandarin, saying, "You're Qiu Zei's little daughter, ha ha ha. Where's your father?" When my father was alive, the Ilkhanate leader had never set foot in our territory. Now, he could come in so boldly, it seemed that the border had already fallen. Xiao Chirue and Wang Zhili were immediately put down, pushed forward by the foreigners. The Ilkhanate leader was delighted and teased me, "Are these two yours?" He laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, you don't look like a Han woman, you look more like my daughter." I thought, "Father, it's all because you're not capable enough. Now someone wants to take your place." The Ilkhanate leader looked around, pointing his sword at everyone in the carriage in anger. "Where's your father? Did he run away halfway?" I took a step back, avoiding the sharp edge. "My father is not at home. When you kidnapped us, you should have asked clearly who to blame." This angered him, making him more impatient. He thrust his sword forward, and just as I was about to accept it, unexpectedly, Xiao Chirue suddenly moved aside, using his back to shield me from the sword. "You!" Xiao Chirue faced me, looking extremely pained. The Ilkhanate leader showed no intention of stopping. He attempted to thrust the sword even deeper. Anxiously, I shouted, "My father is at my maternal uncle's house, the Pingyin Marquis mansion. It's less than 5 miles from the palace gate, heavily guarded. If you have the ability, go and kidnap him." The Ilkhanate leader finally withdrew the sword, mockingly saying, "Your father is no hero. He actually lives in the maternal uncle's house. It will be a shame for everyone to know. That scoundrel, you don't even have a wife or a maternal family, yet you dare to mock others." But I dare not speak, he's truly ruthless. Xiao Chirue was about to drink, and our whole family would be exiled if he died. 16. Next to him, the man in black seemed to receive some orders and quietly reported to him. Xiao Chirue, already injured, looked more exhausted. I tried to move forward and used my not-so-strong shoulders to support him. He said, he didn't refuse, leaning on me weakly, still saying, "It's okay, don't mind me, just run by yourself. I won't burden you." I was so angry I almost threw him out. It seemed that the report outside was finished, and the Ilkhanate leader walked towards me arrogantly, saying, "We've discussed with your Prince Xiao. We'll leave tomorrow, but there are too many of you. I can only take a few people with me. Now, you decide. These two, choose one. I'll kill the other." I was dumbfounded, momentarily speechless. "Why don't you just kill me too?" The Ilkhanate leader proudly shook his fat head, saying, "I'm not stupid. If I kill you, what can I use to threaten your father? Quick, choose one. If you don't, I'll kill both, and you won't even have time to cry. Thank you, you're really kind, even worrying about me crying on the way. I rolled my eyes. Xiao Qirui looked deeply into my eyes, while Wang Zhili seemed relieved. He recognized the crown prince and understood his fate as a member of a prestigious family. Neither of them could die. The Ilkhanate leader urged impatiently on the side, and I, in a moment of wisdom, shouted loudly, "Okay, I'll call you father according to the customs of the Central Plains, and these two will live for another night. I need to explain to them properly and bid farewell." The Ilkhanate leader was initially stunned, then burst into laughter. "Good, the daughter raised by Qiu Xiaowen, today, you'll acknowledge me as your father, ha ha ha, good. But don't play tricks on me. I don't understand the Central Plains language, but my people around me do." My brain quickly turned, thinking about how to minimize the humiliation. Wang Zhili couldn't bear it and advised, "Miss Qiu, there's no need for this. Wang has his regrets. Don't speak." I shouted. Then, to apologize to my widowed second aunt 5 times, "Uncle, adoptive father." The Ilkhanate leader hadn't heard of this term, signaling to the guards. The guards, unfamiliar with Central Plains culture, nodded. "Ha ha ha, call a few more times. Uncle. Uncle. You old sixth," I said it more fluently each time. "Okay, I'll give you a chance. Take your men and go to the bridal chamber." I was speechless. Who taught him these words, and could they be used like this? 17. The three of us were locked in the room. Xiao Qirui unceremoniously occupied the only bed in the room, and I was busy applying medicine to him. Wang Zhili sat at a small table watching us, not speaking for a long time. When he finally spoke, his tone was inexplicably low. "You seem to have known the crown prince for a long time." Xiao Qirui lay lazily on the bed, answering for me, "She's not the first one to save me. Naturally, we're closer than others. This night couldn't afford any strange scenes of jealousy. Let's discuss a way to escape," he suggested without much enthusiasm. Xiao Qirui responded disdainfully, "You discuss. After half a cup of tea, everyone will know." Well, I just hope to get through this night normally. Wang Zhili was very cooperative, saying, "I've known Miss Qiu for a long time." I was dumbfounded, and Xiao Qirui's cold gaze pierced Wang Zhili, who didn't mind and even smiled slightly at me. "I have known your eldest brother since childhood. The first time I heard about you, your eldest brother was complaining that you were not obedient. You went to the river to catch fish, climbed trees to steal eggs, and there was nothing you couldn't do. I thought you were a little boy who liked mischief. Later, when your eldest brother went to buy cosmetics, I intercepted him. I thought he had found a favored young lady at the academy, but he told me that these were all for you. Your eldest brother said that even if you fought with others, you must apply ointment and dress nicely. At that time, I found it interesting, thinking about how you had to be so particular even when fighting with others. But your eldest brother said that you once told him that even if you fought with men, you were still a girl. You could be beautiful and live according to your own preferences every day, even in a fight." I was stunned. I've seen many noble ladies, some with admirable talents, some with extraordinary looks, and some with lofty aspirations for the country. But when it came to their own female identity, they always seemed very melancholic, lamenting that they would have regrets if they were not men. There are many restrictions on women in this world. If women impose another shackle on themselves, they will inevitably have regrets in their lives. It's better for you, who dresses up to fight with others, to live freely and at ease." Xiao Qirui remained silent, his hand on the pillow, gripping tightly. Wang Zhili, always looking at me gently, had a deep meaning in his eyes, making me feel extremely uneasy. After a while, Xiao Qirui finally spoke, "If you know this, you should make good use of the functions of your imperial censorate to defend the reputation of women in this world, rather than just admiring her carefree and open-minded life." Wang Zhili restrained his emotions and bowed slightly. Gilly remembers, if there is a chance, he will personally remove this shackle. Following up, he said, but. No buts. It's getting late, we should rest. Wang Jili laughed lightly, with a hint of complacency in his smile. Your Highness, why are you so wary of what Jili wants to say? After tonight, Jili may not be able to say what he wants. Don't say that. I felt a bit bitter listening to this. With me here, I won't let anything happen to you. I said gloomily, good. Wang Jili responded with a smile, a hint of indulgence in his smile. Miss Chiu, I admire. Wang Jili, you're really bold. Xiao Qirui's loud shout made the people outside the room rush towards us hurriedly. 18. I drew my knife, stood up, and quickly protected the two behind me. Strangely, the commotion outside continued, but no one entered. I was about to go out and take a look when I heard a rough voice speaking Mandarin loudly outside the door. Who dares to be presumptuous on my territory? The sound of one after another throwing knives breaking the air came, and I quickly found a place to hide with the two. The wooden door was kicked open with a kick. I arrived late to rescue. Please punish me, Your Highness, said Xiao Qirui's hidden dragon guard. My brother arrived shortly after, asking, Qiu Jili, are you okay? The Ilkhanate leader's resting place was surrounded layer by the people brought by Xiao Qirui and my brother. I wondered where the Ilkhanate leader had gone. Stepping out of the room, I saw the Ilkhanate leader with a dart in the middle of his forehead, his eyes wide open, seemingly not expecting to die this way. I couldn't help but respect my second aunt, who was far away in the capital. Second aunt, it has to be you. 19. On the way, my brother and I sat in the same carriage. Brother, did Ilkhan cooperate with Prince Zhao, and does the palace know about it? My brother sneered. How could they not know? To force Princess Huayang to cooperate with him, he hung her former husband and fiancé on the city wall, forcing her to choose. Princess Huayang did not accept the challenge. When Prince Zhao and others couldn't wait to act, she secretly had the mother and concubine of Prince Zhao brought over. When Prince Zhao and others were arrested, except for Prince Zhao, the rest of them would be executed after autumn interrogation. Murdering to cut off the roots, it's only natural. But on Ilkhan's side, how did you know we were in trouble? My brother's expression became strange. He hesitated before saying, at first, when second cousin went to find you, I thought that Wang Jili was also there and didn't want to disturb you. But as an older brother, I couldn't let you two be so intimate without a matchmaker, so I hurried to the general's mansion to remind you. Then I found that you were missing. When the hidden dragon guards from the prince's mansion came to deliver the prince's utensils, the two groups of people converged, and following the scent of cosmetics, we traced and found out that you were kidnapped by Ilkhan. Cosmetics? I didn't apply fragrant powder, and noble ladies also have this kind of powder. Your nose is so good. My brother gave me an annoyed look. The Wang family is a 100-year-old clan, and the specially made cosmetics are not ordinary. It was brought by Wang Jili to give you, placed in the carriage. The carriage passed by, leaving a fragrance, naturally able to track it all the way. So, this fragrant powder was specially made for me. 20. After the execution of Prince Zhao by the emperor, he hurriedly brought up the matter of the crown prince's marriage to dispel the bad luck. Considering that the three of us had experienced life and death together, I made special arrangements for myself and got up early to attend the wedding banquet. On the way, I pondered my thoughts with complex emotions. How could I quietly slip into the banquet, present the gifts, and then quickly find a corner to finish eating and leave? Niece, are you not happy? I instinctively replied, no, I'm just thinking about how to present the gifts discreetly. As I heard my own words, I realized something. Looking up, I saw today's bride, the crown prince's consort, my second cousin. She stood with her hands on her hips, wearing a bright red wedding dress, blocking me in a secluded alley. Was she trying to eliminate me? Second cousin was unexpectedly so intolerant of me. My life is over. I immediately drew my sword, stepped back 2 steps against the wall. Unexpectedly, my second cousin, a noblewoman accustomed to secluded living, also had some martial arts skills. We engaged in a duel right there. But due to various reasons, I dared to not really hurt her. But it seems she had the same intention. What is going on? I played along with her, only to hear her say from behind, with your skills, the crown prince marrying you is already fortunate. As it turned out, even powerful martial arts couldn't escape a surprise attack. I was struck from behind, and the world before my eyes blurred in an instant. When I woke up, I was lying on the marriage bed in the Eastern Palace, wearing my second cousin's wedding dress. Standing in front of me was Xiao Chirue, looking both pleased and solemn. He asked me, "Why are you here? Didn't you resist the marriage decree?" My brain didn't catch up for a moment, and I obediently pulled out a pouch from the twisted and distorted wedding dress. Here to present the gifts. Xiao Chirue scolded me with a glance, unceremoniously taking the pouch from me. While saying, he weighed it, "How much money is in here?" I am the crown prince of the current dynasty. 21. I wrestled with my thoughts by the side of the wedding bed. Xiao Chirue slept sprawled out, his clothes open wide, with a hint of almost rolling off the bed. I sighed, lifted my skirt, and walked to his side to cover the fallen blanket. His eyes suddenly opened, black and shiny, with the just awoken innocence, looking wet, pure, and captivating. The room faintly echoed with his low, husky voice, "Sleeping?" My nosebleed almost mixed with tears and rushed down together. "I don't even know how to explain tomorrow morning to the emperor, and you're asking me this now. Do I really have to die under the peony flowers?" Xiao Chirue, do you think the palace has guards who might forget to lock the door while getting drunk? So that I could slip away. Xiao Chirue changed from his previous tender and affectionate tone, his voice cold and stern. "No. Don't think about escaping from me again. Qiu Ru, you little scoundrel, what are you thinking? Are you still thinking about explaining to my father and mother tomorrow morning that you were knocked unconscious and sent up here? Yeah, you guessed it right, what else can I say?" Xiao Chirue walked towards me, his steps determined, and he forcefully held my shoulders, looking into my eyes seriously. "Do you genuinely like me? Disregard family status, just talk about yourself." Xiao Chirue's eyes were as clear as when I first saw him, as if they could see through the secrets in my heart. "Yes." I heard myself whimpering like a little cat. How could I not be moved? Moved to the point where I didn't dare to think about him, moved to the point where I didn't dare to examine the things he gave me closely, moved to the point where I saw him injured for me, and I was filled with worry and anxiety. So, I deliberately deceived the Ilkhan leader. It's not that I couldn't fight, but I was afraid of hurting someone I cared about. Xiao Chirue smiled with satisfaction, hugging me tightly as if he wanted to melt me into his bones and blood. He said, "All right, it's a deal. You have to like me for a lifetime, no turning back. Tomorrow, leave it to me, and I will ensure the safety of the Chiu family. Now, sleep." He stretched out his long arms, picked me up entirely. The vast expanse of fair skin came over, and I was tightly nestled in Xiao Chirue's arms, forgetting to struggle. The familiar fragrance, or the scent of sandalwood, I couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Xiao Chirue seemed to hear it, and he chuckled softly above my head, the chest vibrating with a muffled sound, and his white chest muscles brushed against my nose a few times. An overwhelming surge of familiar impulses could no longer be restrained. Holding back a bit of a nasal voice, I said gloomily, "Xiao Chirue, I'm having a nosebleed. Let me go, I'm going to be suffocated." "You're so weak." Xiao Chirue was busy straightening his clothes, rolling off the bed and hurriedly looking for medicine for me. Outside the door, it seemed that the wedding matchmaker had been accompanying, and Xiao Chirue called out, "Is there any medicine to stop bleeding?" "Yes, it's in the second-tier cabinet by the side of the wedding bed. Prince and princess, please take care of yourselves, don't indulge too much." What is she thinking? The nosebleed became even more joyful. 22. On the day of parting, many people came to see us off. Wang Zhili stood among the crowd, and unexpectedly, he walked towards me. I should have known early on that you wouldn't stay in the capital. Xiao Chirue took my hand, walked in front of me, proud and proud. So, I'm willing to let her be herself. Wang Zhili said with bitterness, for His Highness, no woman in the world is more important than the one in your eyes. Wrong, both the capital and the border are subjects of our dynasty. I am worshipped by the people of the world, so naturally, I should go to the place where the people need me the most to fulfill my duty. She and the people are my lifelong aspirations, the goal of my life, and I will do my best to protect them. The neighing of war horses came from the front, and the autumn wind swept across the land, invigorating. We boarded the carriage and headed towards the border. Behind the carriage, Wang Zhili led a group of courtiers and loudly bowed. We wish Prince of the North and Princess a smooth journey, may the border enjoy everlasting peace, and may there be no more conflicts. Prince of the North and Princess, 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. Looking back. The city of Beijing behind me became smaller and smaller, but the world in front of me gradually expanded.